Welcome to today's Explainer. We often think of digital innovation as this unstoppable force, right? Just driven by pure passion, late nights, and a whole lot of caffeine. But today, we're pulling back the curtain. We're looking at the invisible human cost of the free tools we literally use every single day. We're going to explore what actually happens when that creative passion slams face first into a concrete wall of financial reality. Because as we'll see today, financial stress absolutely kills innovation.
So to really understand this, we need to look at a specific story. There's a developer who goes by the handle Aeric. He's a programmer from Malaysia who recently and very abruptly just halted all work on his highly successful Pakai Server ecosystem. I mean, this is a project he poured his absolute soul into. And its sudden death leaves us asking a pretty uncomfortable question. Why does a thriving, high-output open source project just suddenly flatline?
Well, let's look at the sheer scale of his work. In just over a year, Aeric's technical output was nothing short of massive. He was on this relentless, rapid-fire release cycle. We're talking version 4.0 in May 2025, version 5.0 in July, version 6.0 by November, and pushing all the way to version 6.99 by July 2026. This wasn't just weekend tinkering, you guys. This was focused, high-level innovation from a developer operating at absolute peak performance.
And the sheer weight of what he was managing entirely on his own, it's honestly staggering. We're talking about a highly complex, modern web architecture, full-stack project templates, auto-generated open API documentation, dynamic front-end interactions, robust database support. Maintaining an ecosystem of this magnitude usually requires a dedicated team of engineers. But in Aeric, he was carrying all of it on his own shoulders and releasing updates with incredible speed. But then, literally within days of pushing out a brand new, redesigned UI, the whole narrative just sharply pivots. In an incredibly raw, honest message to his community, Aeric laid bare the true reason for the sudden halt. He wrote, "The second reason that catalyzed my decision to stop Pakai Server development is reality. It wasn't a technical limitation. It wasn't a lack of coding skill or imagination. It was reality."
What we're talking about here is a very specific, brutal type of burnout. Think about it. When you're writing complex API routing or optimizing deep database queries, you need complete, uninterrupted focus. But how in the world do you maintain that mental bandwidth when your basic survival is under threat? You simply can't. Aeric confessed to feeling intensely stressed, facing a compounding life problem that completely shattered his ability to write code. He was essentially living in two jarringly disconnected worlds. In his digital life, he's a master architect, building flawless integrations and robust code for his users. But in his physical reality, he was panicking over an empty apartment and looming mortgage payments. You see, he had bought a small investment property before COVID-19, relying on the rental income to cover the mortgage. But his tenant was constantly paying late, begged to stay until September, and then just abruptly broke the lease with zero notice. It left Aeric completely stranded. So how did he even get into this precarious position? Well, 5 years ago, Aeric took a massive risk. He quit his day job to bet entirely on software entrepreneurship. And during COVID-19, he secured what felt like a lifeline, a freelance contract supporting a mobile app for a town district government. But then, the political landscape shifted. The district council's administration changed, the IT department was restructured, and just like that, the maintenance contract with his vendor wasn't renewed. His income basically evaporated overnight. With zero jobs for months on end, Aeric was facing the unforgiving math of adulthood. His fixed financial commitments just kept relentlessly draining his resources. He had a car installment, 2 apartment loans, and medical insurance to pay for. He even admitted he hadn't been able to send money home to his parents for years. And look, he was doing everything right to stretch his runway. He relied on his girlfriend's home cooking on weekends, he stuck to the absolute cheapest meals possible when dining out, but it simply wasn't enough. Let's put a hard number on this burden, just to put things into perspective. After liquidating his absolute last savings fund with an insurance agent, Aeric was left with a mere 1,300 Malaysian ringgit to his name. That was it, the mathematical limit of his financial survival. When your safety net dwindles to that level, you aren't thinking about software architecture anymore. You're in a state of sheer panic, thinking only about how to keep the lights on. He did have one last potential lifeline, a delayed vendor payment of 2,400 ringgit. But get this, he only got it after threatening legal action, and even then, they forced him to accept it in installments for months of delayed maintenance work. This tiny band-aid, it gave him exactly 1 more month of runway before he had to make a drastic choice. With his savings completely gone, that final payment just delayed the inevitable. The next step was pure survival mode. He applied to be a Lalamove delivery driver. Really think about that for a second. The architect of the massive Pakai Server ecosystem, a developer capable of building complex REST API templates from scratch, was now forced to navigate city traffic delivering packages just to keep a roof over his head. As he so bluntly stated, "If I take the delivery job, I don't have much time sitting in front of my laptop." The sheer physical act of driving for survival fundamentally strips away the time, energy, and mental bandwidth required to sit at a desk and innovate. You simply cannot write brilliant code when you are physically exhausted from navigating city streets all day long. Financial stress didn't just hurt his project, it actively, completely killed the innovation pipeline. The open source community thrives on the brilliant contributions of solo developers. But Aeric's story is a stark reminder that passion cannot pay the mortgage. Innovation isn't just killed by a lack of good ideas, it's killed by empty bank accounts, broken leases, and the relentless pressure of survival. So, the very next time you download a free digital tool, ask yourself, who is the human being on the other side of that screen, and what invisible burdens are they carrying to bring that innovation to life?